So one thing I did want to talk about with Forza Horizon 2 and me being a brand new player on this game here in 2026 is the early progression in it. And one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to talk about this, I think, is simply down to Forza Horizon 3. I really enjoyed the progression in that game. And I was kind of going into Forza Horizon 2 completely blind. Like, I had no idea about anything in this game, dude. Like, absolutely anything. So I'm like, all right, let me go in. Let me see how this is designed. The first thing you will be greeted with in this game is simply down to the championships. You pretty much will have a bunch of these. These could be like retro saloons, JDM icons, sports, super saloons. You have off-road, you have rally, you have like super GTs, and there's all kinds of different ones you can pick from. Now, the biggest thing I was like, okay, well, I could probably do any of these at first, right? And simply no. And the reason for that is you pretty much start off slowly in this game. That was something I really liked about it a lot. Like, you jump in, you won't be able to do a hypercar championship in like 10 minutes. You probably have to wait a while. So in a way, I would say the beginning hours of this game is probably on the slower side, which, to be real with you, I'm very happy about it. I was like, okay, you know what? Let me use a slower vehicle, right? Let me jump into these events. Let me actually do some of the, get like a $30,000 vehicle or something like that. And one thing I want to mention is simply down to the fact of me noticing how when you are looking at different vehicles in the beginning of the game, the overall variety of the cars you can use in the beginning is obviously a lot smaller. And this might sound pretty dumb, but I like it. Like, if you don't have a lot of money and stuff, you're looking at the championships like, okay, this is a rally one, right? This is a retro rally. Let me go look at those. And I can get one of these cars for $30,000. Let me buy that one. Yes, it might end up hurting me right now because I have 100 grand, but you pretty much have to start off with nothing. I feel like is what a lot of players do want, or not, like not having a lot, right? Like, you want to be able to earn the said money that you're getting and stuff like that, and not really have a lot of vehicles when you're starting out, which is something I feel like people probably want, obviously, in, Forza Horizon 4 and 5. They don't want to have the cars dropping quick. They'd rather start bottom, have some of the cars. Now, there's other sides of this, which I will talk about in another video, to where, like, you don't want to just, like, grind your life away for, like, no money and stuff like that, which, honestly, I feel like there needs to be a balance there, which I feel like Forza Horizon 2, and by the way, this is super early on thoughts, I feel like it did pretty good. Like, I was having a great time going through and like leveling up my cars and spending money on them, even though I only had like $60,000. I'm like, okay, well, I'll go put $20,000 into my car so I could go do this championship. You'll get the money back from the races and stuff like that, which I thought was very cool because, yes, you're putting upgrades in the car, obviously. But at the same time, though, you are getting money back from those vehicles. You can race the drivatars that are around the map, which I thought was also really cool. But with that, though, guys, one thing I forgot to mention is when you are progressing through the game, the other thing I did enjoy again is the barn finds. I do like the fact that these would show up throughout when you were doing the championships. Like, you don't get all of them right away. You won't get like an old Lambo from it right away or something like that. Like, they're pretty much a little bit different than Forza Horizon 3, I would say. And there's, less of them for that matter. But it's cool because if you are getting cars from this, because you are progressing, like, people are like, I don't want free vehicles. Well, technically, you kind of have to progress through the game a little bit to even unlock the barn finds. So, once you finally unlock the barn finds, you then can get a car from it that you can also use in a championship. That way you don't have to buy the car. It kind of offsets it, saves you some money, and you can also then go make extra money from doing the barn finds and stuff like that when you get those cars because you don't have to buy them, which is something I did like about that. But the other thing I did want to mention, which I found very cool about this, is you can also race special drivatars around the map. And I had no idea what this was. I saw one like with like a yellow circle above its name. Like, oh, cool. Let me go race it. And I ended up racing like one of the drivatars, which reminded me of, obviously, how Forza Horizon 4 is, also 3 and stuff like that. But they were more prominent in 3, I would say, for what you had to do with like the midnight races and all that. So I was kind of racing those around a bit and then trying to, progress in that. And I was like, okay, well, why am I going along and finding this random one with a, circle above it saying, let me go over to it. I raced it, and I got like 35 grand from it. This is exactly what I'm looking for. You got like 40 grand from that race, and it's not like they pop up all the time, but progressing through and then doing other races and then going to like the next location, you find that. I did find that really cool being early on because the races were obviously a pro drivatar, so it was more difficult. And I feel like little things like that being thrown in there, especially for the progression standpoint. And if you are earlier on in the game, I would probably say people look for little things like that to give them like a mild boost. You know what I'm saying? Now, the other part is probably along the lines of the event structure I noticed on this game as well. And that is along the lines of, picking your championship. You have 3 to 4 races in most of them. And you could obviously, get a cheap car if you want, or you can get a more expensive vehicle. If you're like me, though, you'll probably buy a cheaper car, and then most likely after that you would probably upgrade it a little bit and then proceed to use it that way. That's what I did end up doing anyway. I bought like an old Golf GTI and then put like 30 grand into it and then proceeded to race that in some events and stuff like that. I was like, let me go put some upgrades in it. I engine swapped it for 28 grand. Was it the smartest move? And to be honest, probably not, because you could easily just go buy a more expensive car with like a different motor. But I'm like, you know what? I have this car. Let me upgrade it. And then I proceeded to jump into all the races I had to use like the retro hatchback for, which was the old Golf GTI. And I gotta admit, with the upgrades, it was very fun to race this thing, especially doing some of the off-road courses like you guys will see in the background. It is kind of hilarious because a lot of parts in this game I really did find myself just looking around and all that and exploring the map and going, wow, look at that area, look at this one. Then I'm also like, oh yeah, I kind of need to go to that place and, progress to over there. And speaking of that, you guys know how I was talking about the entire, you have to go to the next zone, like you have to do like a road trip there. You have to unlock each of the Horizon hubs that way, which also felt like a progression standpoint. Like not all of them were right there right away, right? You had to get the one, and then you had to do a race or a championship there. Then you can unlock the next one. Then once you unlock like all 5 or 6 of them, then you could pretty much go and pick different championships in each area and drive different cars and kind of progress the way that you want to. And the thing is, I kind of like this aspect. Like, I was kind of thinking that you had to drive a certain vehicle. Like, when I first started the game, I thought it was giving me that Ferrari. I'm like, oh, really? We're doing this? But then, it gave me the Ferrari, and I was like, oh, wait, I don't have to use this. So I chose to go buy the Ford Focus and do lower level events. Could I go do races in that car? Yes, but I was like, you know what? Let me just go buy lower level vehicles that I could race this way, and I'll kind of just start myself. Like, I did end up buying the Pontiac Trans Am as a cheaper car. That way I could go do like the muscle races. I was like, I like this. Let me go buy cheap cars. It kind of gives you like the sense of, okay, this might take a little while because, well, I'm taking a while by buying these cheaper cars, but you're also not, you don't have the money to buy $1 million car anyway, man. You're not making that kind of money anyway. So you're kind of early on in that part, and you kind of don't have a choice to buy the cheaper cars. And I like that. Like, it's almost like the progression in the game is kind of like, all right, dude, you got to start with these vehicles. You don't have a choice, my friend. And then later on, you could go and get the faster cars. You don't just get handed them and stuff. And speaking of that, one thing I want to mention is I only opened 4 wheel spins, by the way, guys. Okay, I've only opened 4. That is it. I have not opened any more wheel spins because I wanted to do something different in this game. I stopped at 4 wheel spins. I maybe made like $40,000. I was having pretty bad luck with them. And I got a Volkswagen Beetle, which is pretty dope. So a car I did not have to buy, even though that car is insanely cheap anyway. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this differently, which I will touch on that in the other progression video where I decided not to use any of the wheel spins and see how the progression went in there. And I gotta admit, it's pretty interesting not having any of the wheel spins. But the thing is, though, I feel like a lot of players would jump into this game and probably play it similar to me. Like, if you did get the Ferrari early on, players would probably do it to get the money. And that's totally fine, though, because the Ferrari is in place to help you kind of get jump-started. But you know what I did? I immediately went, you know what can I do to make this game harder on myself? So I went and bought a cheaper car and pretty much did it in that aspect. And that's the thing, like, I did like the way how the game is structured to have progression in it. Like, you can't have the faster cars, right? And I really do like that about Forza Horizon 2. But on top of that, it also gives you like the car variety if you want it. Like, you can pick different cheaper cars and take those routes to make your money and level up and get different things and stuff like that. I like that. I really do. I feel like almost in ways I was kind of thinking this game might have been like very slow or something like that with the progression. But to be honest, it felt like it had a good balanced speed to it. And for someone who has never played Forza Horizon 2, I like the way they did this. And I have a feeling I'm probably going to love the way they do Forza Horizon 1. But do let me know your thoughts on the Forza Horizon 2 progression. What do you guys think about it? What do you guys think about the progression in this game compared to something like Forza Horizon 3? Speaking of that, I think one of the biggest things I have noticed so far being a brand new player and going back and playing these older Forzas is simply down to the fact of understanding why players want the older progression systems, which it seems like Forza Horizon 6 is doing, and it makes me super excited to play that. Like, I love how Forza Horizon 3 was structured. So far, I'm also loving 2, even though I'm fairly early on, but I like the overall structure design of it. I feel like it's pretty dang solid. I think taking notes from these old games and going into 6 is probably one of the best moves they can honestly possibly do.